Water safety. You need to learn how to swim, wear your life jacket, take a boating safety class. If you're ever going to go out there and actually buy a boat, a jet ski, or something else that's going to go in the water that's motorized, you're going to need to know certain skills about how to operate that boat. So a motor safety class, boating safety class is very, very important. And of course, anytime you get in the water, you want to know how to swim. You always want to wear a life jacket just in case, because you know you can get tired if you know how to swim. So it's very important to be safe. All right. So how much do you know about water safety? All right. So let's ask some questions. Who must take boater education? A, anyone born on or after September 1st, 1993. B, persons 13 to 17 years old. C, persons 12 years old. Or D, everyone. Anyone born on or after September 1st, 1993 must take a boater education course in order to be a motorized operator out there on the water. All right. Texas law requires that personal watercraft must wear a life jacket. True or false? I think the answer is obvious. True. What is the purpose of ignition safety switch lanyard, also called a kill switch, on a personal watercraft or a powerboat? A, to keep a throwable PFD from falling overboard. B, to keep the operator from falling overboard. C, to secure the personal watercraft to its trailer to prevent theft. Or D, to shut off the engine if the operator falls off or goes overboard. And of course, if you fall off your jet ski or off your boat, once you go flying into the water, that lanyard is going to be connected to that ignition switch. That key is going to come out and it's going to turn off the motor so it doesn't run away from you. All right, so by law, life jackets must be worn by who? A, Coast Guard approved. B, in good service, by law, life jackets must be, and of course, Coast Guard approved, in good service workable condition, readily accessible, and of course all the above, and I think it's all the above. All right, what factors increase the risk of drowning? A, lack of swimming ability. B, weather. C, lack of supervision. Or D, all the above. All right, it's going to be lack of swimming ability and lack of supervision. Okay, weather is very it could be anything. Sunny weather, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to drown. All right, never happens. Now, this is a video by the Texas Parks and Wildlife of Texas, so it's very good. We're going to watch it real quick, learn as much as we can.
All I remember is making a large U-turn and then waking up in the hospital 10 days later.
And the whole time we're just screaming as loud as we can, hoping somebody will hear us. Nobody can hear us, no one's around.
I knew it was real whenever I heard the ambulance driving across the freeway over the lake. It was supposed to be Bobby and two of his friends, Cedric and John, and Cedric followed us in his car to the lake.
Me, Bobby, and Cedric, we're saying that go for a little swim a little further out.
Cedric was like, we should swim out to those buoys out there. And I told Bobby no. And he kept screaming my middle name. He kept screaming Nicole because I wouldn't turn around. I didn't want to listen to him because I already told him no, he couldn't go out there. And he was just like, Nicole, and I turned around and I was like, what? And he was like, I love you. And I was like, I love you too, now get out of the water. I sat in the sand and I turned around and him and Cedric and John were already way out there swimming to the buoys.
Bobby was about maybe 5 feet away from me when I turned around to get a little breath and see if everybody was all right.
And he actually just hit the buoy and started swimming back. He didn't stop and take a breath.
Swam a little more. About 2-3 seconds later, I turned back around when I could touch my feet in the sand in the water, and turned around and Bobby was nowhere to be found.
I looked back up and John and Cedric are just standing out in the sand facing the water. And I'm standing there and I'm just waiting because I see 2 people, I don't see 3. And then I was screaming and I was like, where's Bobby? And they were like, I don't know, he hasn't came up yet.
There was some problems going on, like, in the family, and really I just wanted to stay out of it. My mom's friend offered me his jet ski for the afternoon. And since I was unhappy, I went out there. I felt in control. At first I felt like I could do anything, and then I started to lose control of it. There was a couple on the other side of the lake that I remember. They were going 40. The tip of their jet ski hit me in the torso. The whole thing took place a couple feet up in the air above the surface of the water.
And we'd left my grandmother's house. It was me, Brandon, and Taylor. We loaded up my boat, and we headed out to fish to check some trot lines. We checked the fish. We only had 2 small fish on the trot line, so we decided, you know, with the storm blowing in and as bad as it was starting to get, because it was getting worse and worse by the minute, that we would just go ahead and leave the fish there. I've been fishing this lake since I was a little boy, and so I just was that person that didn't think I needed a life jacket or a kill switch or any of that type of stuff, you know. I felt the boat trying to jerk to my left, and whenever I looked back, I saw Taylor, you know, with fright in his eyes. He'd realized something was wrong, and it was just that split second. I mean, it was just as soon as I looked at him, we were in the water, and I mean, he flipped us out, and as soon as we flipped out into the water, it took our breath away. It was so cold. I've swam that lake, I can't tell you how many times, pools. I mean, it was crazy that how fast the water took our energy and all of our strength away. The boat kept on going, and it started going towards the 66 bridge, so I knew that it was gone. You know, there was no chance of getting it back.
It was a normal day. Like, we were planning on going fishing, and
I caught one, and I don't remember what it was. And then Gabby caught a skipjack, and then Callie caught the most fish. Lucky her, she caught a dogfish.
the boat had taken a sudden turn, and we weren't expecting it. And I had been sitting right next to Callie, and everything just froze, and everything was in slow motion.
I just felt the boat do something. I wasn't really sure. I just slid around on the floor everywhere.
I just saw her just fly off the edge, and we heard something hit the motor.
And so, and then we
We were all wearing life jackets, because if not, I definitely would, without a doubt, would have drowned. They pulled me onto the boat and took me to shore. After that, the male who was driving the other jet ski started performing CPR.
Brandon started kind of getting away from us, and I just remember Taylor and me looking at each other and knowing we'd really messed up.
I was at shore catching my breath so I can go back out and look for Bobby. Couldn't find him. After 20 minutes, stayed out the water, and police officer showed up.
We saw her float to the top.
I really thought when she came up, she maybe had just knocked the breath out of her or something, like she was just passed out. And then we saw our wounds, and it looked really bad from there. And that's when we started panicking, and we pulled her up over the side of the boat, and we laid her down. And then my dad was telling us to call 911 and to put pressure on her neck. She had 2 gashes. I didn't know she had 2, so I only had my hand on the one. And Gabby was holding her hand.
Their jet ski crushed my knee into 8 pieces, lacerated my spleen, liver, and pancreas. My aorta had torn.
I just remember it was like fighting 1,000 people at one time. I just knew that there was no chance in hell I was gonna make it. Me and Taylor were right next to each other. We couldn't find him. He was already gone. He already left.
And me and Katie just held Callie in our arms, just told her we were there for her, that everything would be okay.
And then we started telling her that we loved her and what a great person she was, because she was as close to perfect as perfect could be,
Finally, I saw the boat coming back to the shore, and I saw Bobby's body, and he was laying on the stretcher, and they laid him in the sand.
I would have been unconscious for at least a day or two, but with all of the surgery and how severe the injuries were, they kept me under for 10 to 12 days.
I swam towards him as much as I could. You know, I could barely even move myself. I was kicking my feet for him. I couldn't find him. And then it was after that, it was, you know, this fight for yourself, you know. It was, you know, no longer, where's Brandon? It's like, oh man, what am I gonna do to save myself?
Right after they took her, the policeman took me and Katie to the hospital. So we waited there, and we just prayed and prayed and prayed, and until we got the news that our best friend had passed away. And
They take you to a special room, they sit you down, and they tell you they tell you what they did, how hard they tried, that she just wouldn't come back. And that's what happened.
I just remember him saying that he saw a boat. And then whenever I heard him say that, I thought he was hallucinating, because I know that, you know, when people are dying and stuff's going on, you know, you think crazy things. And this boat with two gentlemen came over to me, and they threw me a rope. He pulled us both onto the boat, and we sat there for a second, and then we said Brandon's name, and they said, there's somebody else, and we said, yes, sir.
And I started breaking down and started crying, and it hurt me the most that I had to call his mom whenever talking to a best friend's parent and telling them that their son is gone.
I went to him for everything. So it was really hard for him not to be there anymore.
We looked for him for 29 days. We finally found him. Thanks to a lot of help. It was the worst day of my life by far. And I'll never forget it. I see the look in his eyes sometimes when I'm sleeping.
Because you never think it's gonna happen to you or anybody that you care for.
Never go beyond your limits because you're on the water.
wear a life jacket.
Please, for you and your family's sake, use a kill switch.
I'm alive because I was wearing a life jacket.
Know what to do in an emergency.
Keep safe in the water.
Don't give in to peer pressure.
Use a life jacket.
Take a boater safety course. It can save your life.
All right. So, facts. About 1 in 5 who die from drowning are children, ages 14 and younger. For every child who dies from drowning, another 5 injuries that send them to the emergency room. Over 50% of drowning victims treated in emergency rooms require hospitalization or further care, compared to hospitalization rate of 6% for all other unintentional injuries. Facts. There are more than 625,000 registered boats in Texas, ranking 6th in the nation. Canoes and kayaks are not registered in Texas. 1 out of 6 Texans, or 4,360,000, participate in motor boating activities every year. In Texas, there was a dramatic decrease in boating-related fatalities from a high of 61 in 2008 to 27 in 2010 and 2012. Non-fatal drowning injuries can cause severe brain damage. Factors that increase risk. Lack of swimming ability. Many adults and children report that they can't swim. Lack of close supervision. Drowning can happen quickly and quietly anywhere there is water, even in the presence of lifeguards. Location. More than half of fatal and non-fatal drownings among those 15 years and older occur in natural water settings. A natural water setting is a lake, river, ocean. Factors that increase risk. Failure to wear life jackets. Annually, over 70% of boating deaths that occur are caused by drowning, with over 80% of victims not wearing life jackets. Alcohol use. Among adolescents and adults, alcohol use is involved in up to 70% of deaths associated with associated with water recreation. Factors that decrease risk. Swimming skills help. Learn to swim. Statistics show that taking part in formal swimming lessons reduce the risk of drowning among children ages 1 to 4 years of age. Life jackets can reduce risk. Wear it. Potentially 75% of all boating-related deaths might be prevented with the use of life jackets. Factors that decrease risk also include taking a boating safety course. Boaters who take a boater safety course are less likely to be involved in an accident. In Texas, a person born on or after September 1st, 1993 must take a boating safety course to operate a power vessel. Seconds count. Learn CPR. CPR is performed by bystanders, has been shown to save lives and improve outcomes in drowning victims. The more quickly CPR is started, the better the chance of an improved outcome. Factors that decrease risk. Supervision when in or around water. Designate a responsible adult to watch young children while in the bath and all children swimming or playing in or around water. Avoid alcohol. Avoid drinking alcohol before or during swimming, boating, or water skiing. Do not drink alcohol while supervising children. Okay, Texas required equipment checklist. This is a checklist for everything. So if you have a personal watercraft, which includes jet skis, this is the different things that you must have and available. If you have a boat that's less than 16 feet, these are all the things that you need to have available. A boat 16 to 26 feet, these are all the things you need to have available. Feel free to pause it or take a picture, screenshot it if you need to refer to it, if you're going to go out there and get on a boat anywhere in the state of Texas. Legal boating points of confusion. Life jacket use on a personal watercraft versus boats. Personal watercraft must wear a life jacket at all times regardless of age. Inflatable life jackets are not permitted. Okay, the inflatable life jacket is the one where you pull the cord and it inflates on its own. Okay, we're talking about a standardized life jacket. Boat, required for children under the age of 13, must be 16 years old to wear an inflatable life jacket on a boat. All right, ignition safety cutoff switch use. Personal watercraft must be attached at all times while underway. That means as long as you're on that craft and you're using that craft, you better have that ignition safety cutoff switch. And it's highly recommended for boats. So if you're on a speedboat, yeah, have that little switch on while you're steering the boat, just in case you hit a high wave and you fall off. That boat's going to turn off when you fall off. Legal boating points of confusion. Minimum safety distances. Personal watercraft may not operate within 50 feet of anything or anyone except at a headway speed. Headway speed equals slow, idle speed, or no wake speed. Drive down flag. No vessel may operate within 50 feet of a drive down flag and must slow to a headway speed within 150 feet. Homeland Security restrictions. Do not approach within 100 yards of any U.S. naval vessel and slow to headway speed within 500 yards. Legal boating points of confusion. Legal operating hours for personal watercraft, jet skis, and towable water sports. Personal watercraft operation from sunrise to sunset. So that means you cannot be out there on the water in a personal watercraft if the sun has set or before sunrise. Towable water sports, half hour before sunrise, half hour after sunset. All right, personal watercrafts may never operate at night, even if equipped with running lights. Boat registration. Once a vessel is equipped with any form of mechanical propulsion, it must be registered with the state of Texas. Okay, water safety questions. Okay, among adolescents and adults, alcohol use is involved in up to 70% of deaths associated with water recreation activities. And the answer is true. 1 in 5 people who die from drowning are children 14 and younger. The answer is true. More than half of fatal and non-fatal drownings among those 15 years of age and older occurred in bathtubs. False. Swimming with a friend or family member in close supervision of children are factors that reduce the risk of drowning. True. A personal watercraft is required to have which of these on board? There may be more than one correct answer. A, navigation lights. B, distress signals. C, whistle. D, certificate of number. And the answer is whistle and certificate of number. All right, these are great resources you could actually look into. When you're done watching this video, feel free to go to any number of these resources, take a look at water safety. It'll help you increase your safety in the future, especially if you're going to get out there on the open water. All right, so remember water safety. Okay, so let's go into buying a car. I know buying a car is very important. It's going to be the second largest purchase in your life, with the most expensive being the home. So a car is going to be very important. It's going to be our number one source of travel. I know when I was growing up, my dad always told me, he said, son, if there's anything if there's ever a bill that you have to pay on time every single month, it's that car payment. Because if you can't get to work, you don't have a job, right? So buying a car is very important, okay? So steps in the car buying process, all right? Number one, identify your needs and wants. What do you need to do with your car, all right? Will you drive a lot of miles? What features would you like to have? You may have to trade off some of the wants for a lower price, right? Unless you're super rich, wants is a luxury. Needs are a must, okay? So when you're out there buying that car, focus more on what you need than what you really want. Because if you try to go for what you want and you can't afford it, you're going to find yourself with no car. All right, 2, determine what you can afford. General guidelines. Monthly payments should be no more than 20% of money left over after paying regular monthly expenses. That means rent, utilities, credit card payments, etc. Or you can utilize the 2010 rule. Total debt monthly payments should not be more than 10% of your monthly net income. So if you bring in $3,000 a month, then your total debt per month shouldn't be more than 10%, $300 a month. So that's a good rule of thumb. All right, cost of maintenance of car. You got gas, you got oil, etc. You got insurance. All these things are going to be on top of what you already pay for your vehicle. So if you pay your car payment, well, you're also going to have to pay for maintenance, and you're also going to have to pay that insurance premium. So there's more than just your car payment when buying a car. All right, identify and research your choices. Compare features of the models against the list of wants and needs. Compare models with the same options. List pros and cons of each model. When I went out there and bought a car, for me, it was all about fuel economy and saving me money, right? So that means I want something that's going to last me a long time, that's going to have very good ratings when it comes to, repairs and things of that nature. How reliable is the car going to be? And then, of course, what is the, the fuel mileage for in-city, right? So when I take all that into account, in the long run, it's going to save me a lot of money, and it's going to give me a good, reliable car, right? So decide whether to buy new or used. Cost is a major factor in this decision. New car loses much of its market value as soon as it's purchased. A used car may need more repairs. So you got to list the pros and cons of each. All right, you want to get credit pre-approval, right? So if you're out there buying a car, go ahead and get pre-approved for purchasing a car before you actually start buying the car. That way you know what you can afford. And there's no games in terms of, you go into a lot and you see something you really want and you're not sure whether or not you can afford it. Well, by doing this first, you actually go into a lot knowing exactly what you can afford and what you're looking for, so that way it makes things easier, it makes the process go a lot quicker. All right, research insurance rates, okay? You may be blindsided by how much you have to pay a month in insurance. So if your budget for a car is $300 a month, and you get a car that's $260 a month, but then you realize you're going to have to pay over $100 a month in insurance, well, now you're $60 over budget, right? So you want to make sure that whatever car you do choose before you go down to the lot and test drive it, find out how much insurance is going to cost for these types of cars and how much it's going to cost you based on your driving record and all the other factors that go into pricing of insurance. All right, so search for available vehicles. Great place to search is newspaper ads. On the internet, you got Craigslist, AutoTrader, Cars.com, dealers' websites. List cars that meet your specifications, features, and prices. Okay, it's always a good idea to go ahead and shop online first to see what prices are, so that way you're not blindsided when you go to the dealership. All right, you want to test drive each vehicle. All right, so compare riding, handling, braking, features, and cost. Try all the features. Look for rust and mismatched paint, which could indicate the car has been in an accident. All right, check the history of a used vehicle. Each vehicle has a unique VIN number, vehicle identification number, that identifies the car. The VIN is on the dashboard in front of the driver and in all the vehicle documents. Request a Carfax report from the previous owner. So if you go to a dealership and you're buying a new car, a used car, go ahead and ask for the Carfax on that particular car, so you know exactly what type of shape that of the car you're getting. What major repairs have been done? Has it been flooded? Has it been involved in major accidents? And maybe even its maintenance history. All right, so you want to get the vehicle checked mechanically, especially if it's a used car. Okay, have the car checked by a mechanic that you trust. Okay, vehicle emissions test to verify that a vehicle meets the minimum clean air standards and safety inspections. Because if you just go out there and buy a car and you don't have a mechanic look at it first, and then you go ahead and pay all that money for it, and then you try to go get it inspected so you could register the vehicle, and they tell you it fails inspection, and now you have a lot of major repairs in order for it to be even registered, you're going to find yourself pretty upset. So you want to take these steps before you give them the money, right? Go ahead and have a mechanic, and if it's somebody at a, let's say it's at a house, there's mobile mechanics. You can call up a mobile mechanic. He'll come out there and he'll do a 60-port inspection on the vehicle to make sure that the vehicle is, well, he'll let you know anything that may be wrong with it and whether or not it's something that may or may not pass inspection. All right, determine a fair price. All right, new car sticker price, or MSRP, is called a manufacturer suggested retail price. Never pay the MSRP. Everything is negotiable when it comes to cars. So when you go to a car dealership, you can negotiate literally on almost anything that you buy there. Okay, so always learn negotiating tactics. All right, invoice price the dealer paid for the car. That's what you want to find out. How much did the dealer pay for that vehicle? So that way you know exactly how much room you have to play with when it comes to negotiating. All right, subtract any destination charges. Make sure you understand and look up any charges that do not sound right. Okay. All right, so negotiate the price. Stick to the facts. Negotiate the price of the new car separately from the price of your trade-in. When I go in to buy a vehicle and they ask me if I have a trade-in, I just tell them no, right? And then I try to negotiate the best price I can for that vehicle. And then once I've gotten to an agreement for a price on that vehicle, then I'll go ahead and introduce any car I may want to trade in. That way, they can't just use that in a negotiation tactic, right? Because you want to get the best price for your trade-in as well. All right, so dealer add-ons. High-priced, high-profit dealer services that add little or no value to your car. Tell the dealer you do not want these services on the car and remove them. Extended warranties, rust proofing, car alarms, fabric protection, gap insurance, VIN etching, things of that nature, low jack. These are things that you can get if you really, really want them. In terms of, these are wants, not needs. Okay, if you want them, you can get them, but they're not necessary in order for you to use that car. All right, financing your car. All right, there's different ways to finance it. You can do it through your bank, your credit union, online lenders. You can compare rates and terms. Usually when it comes to vehicles, it's easy to get a 0% rate these days, but you shouldn't be going anywhere more than 3%. If you got good credit, no more than 3%. If you're paying above 3% here in 2020, it's because you have bad credit. So shop around for a better interest rate. Trust me. Some little dealerships may want to charge you 20%. You don't want to buy a car on 20% interest. Trust me. It's not going to be worth it. You're going to end up paying 2 to 3 times the amount of what the car is worth. Okay. So car dealers, they may offer better terms on particular models and at particular times of the year, sponsored by manufacturers or their financing agencies. Okay, 0% financing, $4,500 off MSRP, things of that nature. These are things that get you into the door, right? Leasing a car. Is it a written agreement that allows use of the car for a specific time period and a monthly payment? Okay, so this is an option of the people who constantly have to trade in their cars every 3 years. If you're that kind of person who always needs to upgrade, lease a car instead of buy it. If you're the kind of person who's going to drive your car for 10, 20 years, buying your car is going to be the number one choice. But if you're a person who has to have the newest model and you're constantly trading in your vehicle, leasing will save you money in the long run. Consumer protection for car buyers. You have the warranty. It states what manufacturer or dealer will do if the car does not perform as it should. You do have limit laws here in Texas for cars needing repairs. A limit is a car with substantial defects that the manufacturer has been unable to fix after repeated attempts. 4 times to fix the same problem in the first year, 12,000 miles. Out of service for at least 30 days in the first year, 12,000 miles. That's what they identify as a limit. All right, FTC used car rule requires used car dealers to inform consumers ahead of purchase about who will be responsible for paying certain repairs if they occur after the sale. Buyer's guide sticker, as is, buyer pays for all repairs. Warranty, dealer pays for some repairs for a specific time. All right, cost of operating a vehicle. Okay, just buying a car is one thing, but operating it has its own cost. So, gas and oil. National average for gas prices is $3.68 per gallon of unleaded fuel. Highest price in 6 years for early summer was $14.45 per mile. That's probably somewhere in California, but not here in Texas. But it could get high, so you definitely want to be careful about fuel economy on your vehicle. All right, and then of course depreciation. Your car loses its value every single day, every single mile that you put on that vehicle becomes it becomes worth less and less. So be aware of that. All right, title, registration, personal property tax, and sales tax. Okay, so when you walk into a dealership and you buy a new car, you have what they call the price of the car, and then you have tax, title, and license. Okay, you got to pay a sales tax on the car. You got to pay a title fee on the car. You got to pay property tax on the car every year for registration. All right, so title. This is the proof of your ownership. Now, if you finance a vehicle, you won't get the title. You won't get the title until the car is fully paid off. Okay. Registration, you have to register your vehicle within the state. Now here it's Texas, right? So whatever county you live in, that county you're going to register with. Now the dealership will usually take care of that for you, but if you buy it from an individual seller, you're going to have to take care of registration. You can do that at the county tax office. You want to pay your license plates and tags, and personal property tax, a tax which is based upon the value of the personal property, and then of course sales tax at the time of purchase. So property tax is what you pay annually. Sales tax is what you pay at purchase. Now, if you do a trade-in at the dealership, you need to make sure you take your license plates from your car that you're trading in off the car, because those are your plates. They belong to you. They identify you. You don't want anybody else using your license plates. Okay, and of course with the dealership, they'll give you what they call a temporary plate until your registration tags come in, which is your license plate. Okay, cost of operating a vehicle. All right, there's maintenance and repairs up to 11% from 2012 based on a 2013 from AAA. That's $4.97 per mile. That seems like a lot. Accessories, window tinting, different wheels, audio system, things of that nature.